So, Killifish.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know how many of you out there are into Killifish, but they're really awesome to get into. Unfortunately, they have a bad rap because certain ones actually don't live very long at all, and it's just the way nature's got them figured out. And they live about 6 to 8 months for the ones that live the shortest amount of life, and they grow really fast.
So, what ones do you have?
I have Nothobranchius rachovii, which are an annual.
Okay.
And there's two things. They live only about 6 months, and also they live 6 months, 6 to 8 months, and they breed really quick, like within
from like
6 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
So from like egg to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow. And how fast? Like how big do they get, and how fast do they grow to that point?
I'd say about 1.75 to 2 inches max.
Okay.
Like max for this particular kind, the Nothobranchius ones. But
you're gonna have to spell that out for me later, and we'll put it in the link so people can find it.
Yeah.
So I see where this fish would probably it would only really appease hobbyists. It's a natural way it's going. It's only meant to live a year. It's meant to just breed and die, essentially, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and that has to do with their natural environment, I take it.
Yeah.
So I think where a lot of people would probably get taken away from that kind of fish is people get attached to their pets and they treat them like pets. So it'd be probably more of an experienced.
It's definitely a niche.
Yeah.
Kind of fish.
Some extremely cool colors.
Oh, amazing!
Extremely cool. Yeah. So carry on. Where do they come from?
Africa.
Yeah. So is that why they're meant to basically die every year? Because their water source
dries up, so they lay their eggs in the mud, and the eggs are like, you can pick them up, and it's like a little marble in your fingers.
Like a crust or something.
No, they're pretty solid. It's pretty amazing because they have to handle being dried in the mud. Yeah. And then when the rainy season comes, they hatch out. And that's the other problem with the Nothobranchius is they do lay early because they grow so fast, which is awesome. But they have a bad habit of dying too soon, and lost my train of thought.
So they're laying eggs when basically dying after they lay eggs.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Now you would think, and I guess it doesn't matter. It's weird how nature is, because you would think if you took them out of that African environment, yes, they have the genes for it and the genetics for it, but you take them out and you put them into like a tank like back here.
I think they'd adapt.
You would think, right? You would think they would keep living like their lifespan, because the reason they die in Africa is because they run out of water. Yeah. But if you never run out of water, you think
actually, that's stay alive. Really good point. Holy cow. That's cool.
So, but they don't. That they're just designed.
Yeah, they're the longest I've heard of this species living was 7 months.
Wow.
And breeding right up to the end. Like the guy said, every time he did a water change, boom, they lay eggs.
So how many eggs are we talking about each spawn? And how do they lay their eggs?
They lay their eggs. What I do is I have them in a 10-gallon tank, and I have a bare bottom tank. I just have some plants and some duckweed, and I put them in a Rubbermaid container, just a soup container, and you put peat moss. You have to boil the peat moss so it'll sink. And once you've done that and you have it set up, nature takes over and they know exactly what to do. They go in there and they just
put it right in the peat moss.
Yep. Because when you put it in, the peat moss is nice and level.
Yeah.
And then you look the next day, and it's all stirred up all over the place. Yeah. So you know they've been in there laying eggs.
Okay, so they lay their eggs. Can you leave them in there with the parents?
No.
No, they'll eat their eggs.
Well, what you want to do is about every week to 2 weeks, I take out the peat moss, wring it out, get as much water out of it as I can, and then put it in a Ziploc bag, put the date and the species, and then put it in the cupboard. And that was the other point I was trying to make earlier, is they take 6 months to hatch.
So until you have a flow of eggs going, you're going to have times you're not going to have any killifish. Yeah. Pretty neat. Pretty neat that awesome. People have been able to keep them like yourself and other people. How many eggs do you think you have now?
Probably, I don't know, about 50. 50. Because they don't lay like 50 eggs at one time. They'll lay 10.
Okay, perfect. That's what I was getting at earlier. Like when you get a cluster, how many would you get? And do they just lay them all in one spot, or they spread them out through all the peat moss?
Depends on what killifish you have. I've got the mop spawners, and I have the peat spawners. So the peat moss, it's just wring it out, put it in a bag, stick it in the cupboard, and write the date that you expect it to hatch. Okay. And then with the other ones, they're mop spawners, and they're awesome. Like Aphyosemion, I believe it is. And once a week, I take out the mop, wring it out, and go through it, and you'll see these little. It's like you're collecting these little pearls. Yeah. So you just pick them up, and you can do two things. Some people will get a container with peat moss, damp peat moss, and put the eggs right on top of the peat moss, but separated, so they don't. If one goes fungus, it's not going to affect the other one. But what I've had the best luck in doing is just getting a small container and putting in some methylene blue.
Right. Put
the eggs in that, and I've had awesome success.
You have, because if you guys never caught it, the very first live stream I did with Trevor, very first time I had a guest on with Trevor, you brought some killifish eggs, and one actually spawned on the live stream. It spawned in this little. You guys gotta watch it. Go back, find that spot. It actually hatched out on the live stream. So that was the eggs. I'm assuming the killifish eggs.
Yeah. So gestation for the ones that I hatch in water seems to be about 2 weeks in the water, and if you have them on peat, then it can take a little longer.
Yeah, you're saying up to like 5-6 months, right? Or are you talking from the time they're ready to go?
No, different species. Yeah, the mop spawners are 2 weeks in water, and then 3 to 4 weeks on peat.
You just do it on peat.
Yeah, and then the other ones are 6 months anyway.
Oh, wow. I hope that answers your question, Madfish.
Clown killies. They don't live a long time. If you get a year out of them, you're doing good. And spawning them, actually, the best way I've found to spawn these killies, because they're nice and small and they're really peaceful for a killie, just have a nice planted tank and lots of spots for the babies to hide. They don't try to eat the babies at all. So they'll lay eggs wherever they do, and you'll have babies just look up at the top, have lots of duckweed floating on top, because they hide in the strands of the root system of the duckweed, which I know isn't very much, but So
I guess one question I haven't asked you, or nobody has yet. What kind of water parameters do the killifish require? And are they all different for the different kinds?
They are different. Some need more acidic water, some neutral. is fine. I'm just using tap water in Aurelia.
Oh, right. So you're like 7 pH where you are.
Yeah.
I think you're different
Yeah,
from my tap water.
7.3.
Okay, so
around
nothing
there.
special.
Nothing special. No. And I even put a little bit of salt in the water.
Oh, yeah.
Because killies, especially the Nothobranchius ones, can get velvet. So you want to keep on top of that. Just good water quality. Just throw, a tablespoon of salt in a 5-gallon tank.
Alder
and
cones.
Yeah. Alder cones.
Start throwing some alder cones in.
Yeah.
That, I swear to God, it repels velvet.
Yeah, they're good. Tints the water out nice too. Looks good.